Hello everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again, and it's my favourite time of the week, and you know why that is. It's because it's time to look at my wrestlers of the week. Now, if you're a fan of WWE action, there's a couple of WWE names in here who really blew the roof off this week, and if you saw the match, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Stay tuned later on in the video because they come pretty near the top. Also, I just want to point out as well, not to get everyone too excited, but my wrestler of the week is a first time ever. It's a very unique wrestler of the week. Not just because it's, you know, the first time this person has been wrestler of the week, but it's the first time this sort of person. You'll see what I mean when I get to it. You'll see what I mean. It's very exciting indeed. But let's waste no further time and crack on with my wrestlers of the week. Actually, before we start, I'd like to point out a comment that was made last week by a commenter called Abby Anthony George, who suggested a bit of a change in the scoring system. Basically, their point was that a lot of the Japanese guys and a lot of the indie guys wrestle a lot more matches than WWE guys do. Certainly a lot more matches that aren't house shows. WWE guys have a busy schedule too, but you don't get to see a lot of their matches. And they said maybe I could weight it a bit differently so that the WWE guys matches are more important. I sort of see what they mean. I totally see what they mean, and I'll try and do that, see what you guys think. But luckily, nothing really happened this week where I had to do that, so it's okay. It's all okay. But yes, number 10. My number 10 gaining one juicy point is a man named Pentagon Jr. Now, I must confess, right, I've been a bit of a naughty boy in that, you know when Pentagon won the Impact Championship back at Redemption from Austin Aries, I was like, yes, brilliant. And then the very next night at the set of tapings, he then lost the title back to Austin Aries. And, you know, I was just like, what's the point if he's only going to hold it for one day? I naively assumed that because that match took place on the next day of tapings, it would happen on the next available episode of Impact. It didn't. I've been very stupid. I've underestimated Impact, and they've been improving a lot this year, and I just want to offer my most humblest of apologies. So that title change came actually this week on Impact, last night in fact, where Pentagon lost his title back to Austin Aries. Still a fairly short reign, still only lasted about a month or so, but it was a very good match. The ending was a little bit questionable. Both guys were on fire, right? Austin Aries is an honourable mention this week because I wanted to get him on the list, but there's been too much quality elsewhere. Pentagon makes it on the list. He was on fire. He was nailing sling blades left, right and centre. He was doing stuff on the apron. There was a double count out. Both men didn't manage to beat the count back in, and the referee went, it's a draw, Pentagon retains the title. Austin Aries went, that's not how it's going to go down. Come on, Pentagon, if you're not a coward, if you really do have Cero Miedo, no fear, then you'll, you know, restart the match right now. You'll greenlight that, you'll make that okay. Pentagon went, I am really hard, of course I will, because he's from Newcastle upon Tyne. Then the match restarted. There was a big sort of powerbomb thing, no, a big package pile driver, I think, on the apron. Both men again spilled to the outside and again were counted out. They couldn't beat the referee's count back into the ring. Again, it was a tie, it was a double count out. And this time Pentagon was like, no, we're going to do this properly. We're going to restart the match again. I have Cero Miedo. And he did that right in Austin Aries' face. He went, Miedo, look at my fingers. And Austin was like, right, ring that bell, referee. Referee turned around to ring the bell. Austin Aries, bang, low blow, brainbuster, 1, 2, 3. Austin Aries is a new champion and now a fully fledged heel once again. This was an interesting sort of way that it went down, I guess. It was a little bit overbooked, you could argue, and it was a little bit of a screwy way to get the title back on Austin Aries, but you know, the match itself was absolutely superb. So Pentagon, 1 point for you. Number 9, Ryosuke Taguchi from New Japan, one of the best of the Super Junior competitors, and really an old guard now in the New Japan Juniors division, a really experienced old head. He's just a fun-loving guy. Look at him. Look at him. Don't you want him at a party? I can understand if you don't. Taguchi had 3 matches this week in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament with mixed success. He earned a flash win over Kushida in about a minute and a half. I really liked this. It sounds like a bit of a cop-out to have such a big match, you know, last about 90 seconds, but it does prove that anything can happen in the WWE, in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it also proves that Kushida could be a little bit susceptible to quick flash losses, as he did last year against Hiromu Takahashi. So that makes a lot of sense. Then Takahashi had a match against Taguchi. Fun-loving Taguchi, look at him, what a crazy character. Taguchi lost after a very good match, one of the better matches of the tournament so far. And then Taguchi rounded things off with a good match against, I believe, Chris Sabin. Just like to correct that last point there. He rounded things off with a good match against Sho Tanaka. Sho Tanaka and Chris Sabin, very similar dudes, very similar guys, apart from in terms of age and race and appearance and name. Yeah, Number 8, Dragon Lee, who also had 3 good matches this week. Dragon Lee is the Mexican dude who sort of integrated himself in the New Japan Juniors division, mainly due to his intense feud with Hiromu Takahashi. It's not even about the cat. It's not even about the cat. It stretches back years and years before Daryl was even a thing. Dragon Lee had a match with Takahashi, and it was, in the eyes of many, the best match of the best of the Super Juniors so far. He also had good matches against Marty Scurll and I believe Chris Sabin. I think this time it was Chris Sabin. I'm gonna check. It was Chris Sabin. It was Chris Sabin. I'm back on track. Come on, let's rock and roll. Number 7, a big old newcomer to the list and a woman who disgusts me. Momo Watanabe. There she is. Look at her. 18 years old. Literally born in the year 2000. I feel sick to my stomach. Basically what happened was Momo had a really good match against Io Shirai for the Stardom Championship and won it because Shirai is probably going to go off to WWE soon. She's probably going to go. But Watanabe, in this match when I watched it, I could tell that Watanabe was the less experienced of the two, and she was to some degree being carried through the match by a much more experienced wrestler. But at the same time, this woman can wrestle. This girl can wrestle. She's so young. She's 18 years old. If you're watching this and you're about that sort of age, I hate you too. I despise you because I'm now in my mid-20s and it's painful and sad. It's so sad. Bits of my body just hurt now. My back hurts some mornings. Hangovers are worse. Hangovers are far worse. To give you a little breakdown of what I gleaned from Watanabe's match, the first match of hers that I've ever seen, I'll be honest, she kicks really hard. She kicks people in the spine. She kicks them in the side and the limbs. She kicks very, very hard, and she's only about 5 foot tall. So her kicks have to be very hard to be believable, and they're really hard, stinging kicks. And now she's one of the biggest women's champions in the world of wrestling. So 18 years old. I think I hate her. I hate you, Momo Watanabe. I hate you. Welcome to the list. Good job. Number 6, if you're not familiar with Japanese wrestling, I apologise for all of these Japanese wrestlers that I've mentioned in a row so far. Number 6, Kenta Miyahara. We'll get to the guys you recognise in a bit. We'll get to them in a second. Kenta Miyahara had a really good match in All Japan where he put his title on the line against his current big rival at the moment, Naomichi Marufuji. And Miyahara really established himself as the Okada of All Japan in this match. Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that many people were calling this match the best non-New Japan match of the year so far. He didn't agree, and I don't agree either, because have you all forgotten about Ciampa versus Gargano? That's my match of the year, even including New Japan so far. It was so good. It was just so good. I need a little sit down. It was just so good. But Miyahara's match was good too. Look at him, he's loving it. He's having a great time. I've been pointing to the screen a lot in this episode, and I don't know why, but it helps you engage with the wrestler. Look at him. He's just had a really good match, hasn't he? It was a decent match. There was a really long sequence of rest holds that sapped my energy in the middle, but the ending sequence was as good as anything we've seen this year. So, well done, Miyahara. As good as anything we've seen this year, apart from Gargano and Ciampa. Apart from that. Number 5, Marufuji. I won't talk too much about the match because, I've just talked about it with his opponent, Miyahara. But Marufuji, at the moment, is in a very unique position in Japanese wrestling. He's the ace of Noah right now and lost a title match in Noah. He's, gone over to All Japan, Noah's historic big rival, apart from New Japan. Basically, quick little history lesson. All Japan was the thing. It was like the WCW to New Japan's WWE, and then it sort of split, and now it's All Japan and Noah, and all the talented lads took their talents to Noah, and now Noah's like arguably bigger. So Marufuji's off in Noah being like the big leader of this whole rebel promotion that's now about 10 years old, and longer than that, nearly 15 years old, and he's the big rebel leader, and can't even win a title there, goes back to All Japan, can't win a title there. He's a loser, but like the winningest loser in all of wrestling right now. Marufuji, well done, mate. You're the winningest loser. Have some more points. Go on. Number 4, my boy. A lot of people last week in the comments said, one person in particular said, Jack has so many boys in wrestling. I just like a lot of the wrestling lads. And I've met this person, and he's creepy and delightful in equal measure. It's Hiromu Takahashi. What a man, what a cheeky chappy, what a gent. Like many of the best of the Super Juniors guys, he had 3 matches this week. He had a really good match against Dragon Lee, which I've already mentioned, arguably the best Super Juniors match so far this year. He also had a really good match match against Taguchi, which I've also mentioned, a great match, one of the better ones this year. And he had a good match against, I literally can't remember, but I'm going to say Sabin, because I've said him the past 2 times and I was right. He had a good match against Sabin. A really good match against Sabin. Oh my God, it was. He had a really good match against Sabin as well. Well done, Takahashi, mate. Not so much for that match against Sabin, who I guess is just having matches with everyone this week, but especially for that match against your old foe, Dragon Lee. Well done, Takahashi. Truly, he is the standout of the Super Juniors tournament so far. And my pick to win, don't forget it. When he wins, I want a procession through the streets of Tokyo with me and Hiromu, Big Hiromu, and we're both on like an open top bus and we're both going, yeah! He's got Daryl in one hand, his cat. I have Monkey Bob, my childhood toy. I had a monkey when I was a kid called Monkey Bob, and I still have him. He sits on my wardrobe. I don't sleep in bed with him, he sits on my wardrobe. Hashtag Monkey Bob. Love Monkey Bob. What a guy. Number 3, it's time to go over to WWE now. Rest easy, people who know nothing about Japanese wrestling, because it's time for familiarity, the warm comfort of familiarity and safeness and being firmly inside your comfort zone. I love it as much as you do. Number 3 is Buddington Murphy. Now, Buddy Murphy, I've written about this match in a lot more detail on the website Cultaholic.com. Check out my Match of the Week article, which is a weekly feature like this video. Buddy Murphy had a title match against Cedric Alexander for the Cruiserweight Championship on 205 Live and tore the house down in North Carolina. He was, I've mentioned in the article that Buddy Murphy wrestles with like a frantic energy, whereas Cedric's really smooth and graceful. And it just blended so well. Both men were similar but different in the same way, and it was really intense, more intense than your typical 205 Live match. A lot of people are calling this the best 205 Live match so far in the history of the show. I'd have to think closely about that, because there were some really good matches in the tournament for the vacant title as well, but this was certainly up there, and I'd argue probably the most defining match of 205 Live so far. It showed that the cruiserweights aren't just flippy guys, they're excellent all-round wrestlers. This match had brawling, it had strike exchanges, it had flips and dives as well, and it had an astonishing finishing sequence too. Seek this out and watch it if you haven't already. Buddy Murphy is now, I believe, well in the top 25 of this list. What a sneaky little Australian devil. Number 2, his opponent, Cedric Alexander, another dark horse of this list, like Buddy Murphy, a pair of dark horse eye. Cedric was wrestling in front of a home state crowd. He is from North Carolina as well, and he retained his Cruiserweight Championship and wrestled a near flawless match. It was fantastic. It was wonderful. I also mentioned in the article that it was a really good story behind it if you look into it a little bit sort of from a certain angle, look into it a little bit deeply from a certain angle. So switch yourself around to the side and really penetrate the storyline hard. Oh no. The story that I inferred from this, and this might just be because I'm a wanky English graduate and I derive meaning from things that don't really have meaning. The curtains were blue, that means he was sad. It means the curtains were blue. Basically, I think that this match was a matchup between the kind of chosen one, the golden boy, Cedric Alexander, who was literally picked from a lineup by Triple H in the Cruiserweight Classic, and everyone was told, this is the guy, he's going to be somebody someday. And then you got Buddy Murphy on the other hand, who was an NXT tag team champion who got overshadowed by a lot more flashy tag teams. Bit of a mongrel when it comes to WWE. Doesn't really fit in anywhere, but he's found his niche in 205 Live. But we're not talking about Buddy Murphy anymore, sorry. We're talking about Cedric Alexander. Great hair, great face, lovely man, great body, muscles, big thick legs, really good at slapping the leg when he does. He hits so many uppercuts, and clearly he must have been slapping his leg or his side when he hit those uppercuts, because the sound just went, just rattled around the arena. But I couldn't see it. He's so fluid, he's so smooth. He almost moves like a Ricochet or a wrestler of that ilk. He's very fluid indeed, effortless, makes wrestling look easy, and is a worthy number 2 on this week's Wrestlers of the Week. Well done, Cedric Alexander. Lovely hair, lovely face. Number 1, and my Wrestler of the Week, is the first ever, I'm pleased to announce, the first ever female Wrestler of the Week, and just one of the best wrestlers in the world that I wasn't too aware of, Io Shirai. Now Shirai basically is, I'll give a little explanation, right? Apparently Shirai has been the ace of Stardom, the big women's wrestling promotion over in Japan. She's been the ace of that promotion for many years now. She's still only about 28 or 29, but she's apparently one of the best wrestlers in the world, and I'd never watched a match of hers. And then I watched this one against Momo Watanabe, the 18-year-old who I hate. I watched that match and I was just blown away. Watanabe was very impressive indeed, especially for an 18-year-old, but the way that Shirai guided her through the match, hit her own offense, sold, did everything. I was blown away, and immediately from watching it, I was like, she's not just one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, she may be the best women's wrestler in the world. She's one of the best wrestlers in the world. She did a picture-perfect moonsault to the outside. She was throwing strikes like nobody's business. She was dictating the flow and the pace of the match. She's certainly not a spot monkey. I don't want to suggest that at all. She was dictating everything, and she was really creating this crowning moment for her young opponent, and it was really wonderful, especially if this is one of her big send-offs from Stardom as she departs to pastures new, wherever they may be. Wherever they may be. Shirai, of course, was heavily rumoured to be heading to WWE, I think last year, but they took Kairi Sane instead, who was also a big name in Stardom. Slightly less of a big name than Io Shirai, but nowadays, obviously, Kairi Sane is known to a much wider audience and has that beautiful elbow drop, and just everything about her seems geared for eventual Stardom. But, I mean, Shirai could really throw a spanner in the works when she comes over. The NXT has a lot of quality women's wrestlers right now, and Shirai, I don't know if she'd even need to go there. She could jump straight to the main roster and instantly be like, maybe the best women's wrestler on the roster, maybe Asuka. But I think from watching this that Shirai is just absolutely phenomenal, and younger as well. And I can't wait to see more of her, hopefully in WWE. 10 points to you, Io Shirai. You are my wrestler of the week. So now let's take a look, as we always do, at the league table. Not a lot of change in the top 10 this week because none of the top 10 actually made wrestlers of the week. No Ospreay, no Zack Sabre Jr., no Matt Riddle, no Johnny Gargano. However, a little further down, if we see there, Hiromu Takahashi has jumped ahead of Hiroshi Tanahashi in the battle of the namesakes, or the almost namesakes. They sound very similar. Buddy Murphy has also leapfrogged several people up into 18th alongside the worst man in all of wrestling, Tommaso Ciampa. So there we go. What a lovely league table. So thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. This has been Wrestlers of the Week. You can follow me if you want to find out more of my hot takes on professional wrestling at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic and check out our Patreon too, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never, ever, ever forget to join us.